They say war makes for strange alliances, but some alliances are so improbable, so buried in secrecy, that they almost sound like fiction. This is one of those stories. Picture this: New York Harbor, 1942. Flames engulf a massive ocean liner, black smoke curling into the winter sky. Soldiers and dock workers watch in shock as water cannons fail to tame the inferno. And as the fire consumes the ship, whispers spread like wildfire. Sabotage. The vessel was the SS Normandie, a French luxury liner seized by the U.S. government and renamed USS Lafayette. She was meant to become America's troop ship Jewel. Instead, she lay smoldering in the harbor, reduced to a twisted ruin. The Navy called it an accident, welding sparks, a tragic mishap. But New Yorkers were not convinced. If Axis spies could strike here in the most guarded dockyard in America, then nowhere was safe. That fear gave birth to one of the strangest intelligence operations of World War II. It was called Operation Underworld, and it brought together two forces no one would ever expect: the U.S. Navy and the American Mafia. The Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, had a problem. Their agents prowled the docks, but no one talked. Longshoremen kept silent. The waterfront was its own kingdom, ruled not by the government, but by shadowy mob figures who controlled the labor, the rackets, and the silence. So, the Navy made a choice that would never appear in any standard manual. If you can't beat the mob, you join them. They turned first to Joseph Sox Lanza, the racketeer who ran the Fulton Fish Market. Lanza knew every worker, every whisper. With his cooperation, the silence cracked. The docks opened up. Threats receded, but Lanza was small-scale. The Navy needed someone who commanded fear across the entire city. That led them to a name already infamous: Charles Lucky Luciano. Before the war, New York's docks were not just about cargo. They were ruled by the mob, longshoremen, unions, even the flow of food and fuel, all bent to mafia control. Work came with a price: pay tribute or face trouble. By the late 1930s, nothing moved in the harbor without mob approval. So when Navy agents arrived, they found silence. The mob didn't just run the docks. They ran the information. And that's why ONI realized, if you wanted answers, you had to go through the mafia. Charles Lucky Luciano wasn't just another gangster. He was the architect of modern organized crime. He built the Commission, turning rival gangs into a national empire. Prohibition, gambling, rackets, everything flowed through him. In 1936, prosecutor Thomas Dewey finally put him behind bars. Newspapers called it the end of his empire. But Luciano's influence didn't die in prison. His name still carried respect and fear, and that lingering power was exactly what the Navy needed. The Navy knew it. They reached out. Prison transfers were arranged. Meetings were held. And according to the 1954 Herland's report, Luciano agreed. He would use his influence to secure the docks, prevent strikes, and keep German agents out. In return, nothing written, nothing official, but the quiet promise that his cooperation might buy him freedom. The Navy wasn't asking Luciano to run spies into Berlin or assassinate Nazis. They wanted something simpler and perhaps more powerful: stability, speed, silence. Every ship had to sail on time. Every dock had to stay free of sabotage. And for once, the mob's invisible hand worked in America's favor. By the Navy's own account, strikes ceased. Theft dropped, and no major sabotage ever crippled New York Harbor again. But the alliance didn't stop in New York. In 1943, the Allies prepared to invade Sicily, Operation Husky, the largest amphibious invasion in history at that point. And Sicily wasn't just another battlefield. It was the Mafia's homeland. Through Luciano's network, intermediaries identified local bosses, men who knew the land, the dialect, the people. One name stood out: Calogero Vizzini, a powerful Sicilian mafioso. Accounts claim his men guided Allied soldiers, secured villages, and even raised the American flag in liberated towns. Was it decisive? That depends who you ask. Some historians argue the Mafia's role was exaggerated, a convenient legend. Others point to smooth landings and Mafia strongholds as proof. The truth likely lies somewhere in between, not decisive, but not irrelevant either. What is certain is what came next. In 1946, Governor Thomas Dewey, the very man who once built his career convicting Luciano, commuted his sentence. Luciano was freed, deported to Italy, his cooperation cited as a matter of national security. To some, it was scandal. A mob boss rewarded for cutting a deal in America's darkest hour. To others, it was simply wartime pragmatism, survival first, morality second. Luciano never returned to the U.S. He lived out his life in Italy, still powerful, still shadowed by the legend of Operation Underworld. For years, the whole affair remained hidden, but in the 1950s, rumors grew too loud. An official inquiry confirmed the truth. Yes, the Navy had turned to the Mafia. Yes, Luciano had helped. And yes, the United States government had bargained with the underworld in its fight against the Axis. But the full scope, especially in Sicily, remains debated to this day. So what do we make of it now? On one hand, Operation Underworld shows how far a nation will go to survive. The Navy needed control. The Mafia delivered. The war effort continued. On the other hand, it raises darker questions. Did this deal strengthen organized crime after the war? Did desperation grant legitimacy to the very empire America had vowed to destroy? And perhaps most chilling of all, what does it say about the line between patriot and criminal, when in the smoke of war that line can vanish completely? Operation Underworld was real, documented, investigated, yet still shrouded in secrecy, myth, and half-truths. A reminder that every great war is fought not just on the battlefield, but in the shadows, where spies, criminals, and governments strike bargains never meant to see the light of day, because sometimes, to fight an enemy abroad, you must first make a pact with an enemy at home. So now I'll ask you, do you think the Mafia truly shaped the course of World War II? Or were they just a small piece of a much larger puzzle? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this dive into the secret world of wartime espionage, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We uncover hidden stories like this every single day. And remember, in war, truth is often the first casualty, but secrets never stay buried forever.